probably about 3 blocks away, advancing towards the scene to try and gather some photos and some videotape. And it felt like the entire ground shook. It felt like what it feels like to be in a earthquake. The ground was shaking, followed by plumes and plumes of overwhelming smoke and flying debris, ash, and pieces of the building. As the ground was shaking,
was there sound with this, Nina?
There was a tremendous booming sound, and then it just felt like a rumbling, but it didn't sound like an explosion. It sounded like a loud rumbling, and then the next thing we saw were the streets. The way the streets looked were just overcome by smoke, just plumes and plumes of smoke, like a bomb had gone off, coming up the street as people were racing to get in front of these clouds of smoke.
And police at this time and other officials, their role?
Their role right now was pushing people back. They were very much in a mode where they were trying to get people back from the scene. And the seconds before the explosion happened, there was another renewed kind of interest in really getting people away. Because, of course, out of curiosity, everyone's trying to get close. Everyone's trying to get pictures of the World Trade Center on fire. They started screaming, "Get back, get back, there's another explosion happening." I guess they were being warned on their radios that the top was going to come down since it was burning for the better part of half an hour. As they screamed to get people back, they started screaming, "Leave Manhattan if possible. Everybody leave Manhattan as possible."
John Del Giorno is providing us these pictures you're seeing. We have had problems getting audio from him because our communication is right there on top of that tower. John, can you hear me?
It is hard to describe exactly what we've witnessed here over Manhattan in the last hour and a half. We are still stationed over 79th Street looking south. There's been a 5-mile security perimeter set up around the World Trade Center by the police department.
New Jersey State Police have their emergency command center up and running. Right now, city and federal buildings in Newark still open, though, again, heavily fortified. That's the latest now. We're going to continue to monitor these developments, particularly with the schools closing.
The other tower, as you can see, seems to be collapsing, David, as we watch.
Unbelievable.
This is, it's collapsing inward, and it's imploding. This is a horrific situation you're watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a child watching and you do not have a parent there, I don't know what to advise you. If you can understand this.
It's hard for an adult to understand.
Words cannot describe this. The North Tower of the World Trade Center, the second 110-foot structure that marks the landmark, that is a landmark of New York and Manhattan, and indeed the United States, has just collapsed.
And if you look at the timeline in which all of this has taken place in such a short period of time, 8:45 until now at 10:29.
Nina Pineda, can you hear us? Are you on the line at all, Nina? Nina is just a few blocks from there. And we do not have her amidst the chaos. We have not heard from Joe Torres. This is just so tragic that it's sort of
almost
ridiculous to say, to try to talk through this. It is so horrific. John Del Giorno, can you hear me? John Del Giorno, he cannot hear me.
Yeah.
All of the radios are now down. We have lost radio contact with John Del Giorno. The World Trade Center, of course, provides the transmission towers for many of the broadcasts, both radio and television.
Located on top
of those World Trade Centers. Those tops, of course, now on the bottom. As Jim said, the biggest act of terrorism, foreign terrorism, was against the World Trade Center on February 26, 1993. 6 people died, 1,000 people were injured in that attack.
And that also was designed, Bill, to bring down the World Trade Center.
It was. Well, someone has done it. Right.
This is an interview, a conversation that we had, I believe, with a man earlier this morning. He was inside the tower.
What happened? I was up on in my office on the northwest corner of the 82nd floor. I heard a noise like a sonic boom almost, and then a blast. The building swayed, shook a little bit. I saw papers coming fly out of the middle of the building, and then we went to the staircase to try to get down. We were going down. We got stuck on one floor because the door and the staircase wouldn't even open. So we went back onto the floor through some fire. We saw some fire and rubbish, and we went to the other staircase to come down. We made it all the way downstairs, and then when we were just about to come out of the building, there was another blast, and all the lights went out, and this is what happened then.
The glass came down?
We didn't see we were still inside the building. All we heard was a big blast, and the whole volume of air moved. And we came out through the subway.
Well, good to see you. What are your injuries? Have they told you?
The only thing I have is I have a little cut on my hand. That's about it. So I was real lucky. I don't know what happened to the people behind me when that blast occurred.
Okay, thank you. And everybody, this has been an absolutely incredible scene. My cameraman and I, Dean, had the opportunity to walk close down to the towers. When they were on fire, we could see the gray smoke coming out of them, the big holes on each side of the towers. We were pushed back by a police officer. He told us not to stand on Trinity Street any longer. And when he told us that, a few minutes later, all of a sudden we heard the earth shake. We heard this rumbling noise. We looked up into the sky. Now just go ahead and understand this. We looked up into the sky and we saw this gray cloud, a huge gray cloud full of debris coming at us, standing about 30 stories tall. It kept rolling and rolling toward us. And then all of a sudden, when we realized it, we had to get on the run and get out of there. We were right in the way of that plume of smoke coming at us. And then we ran into a store. At the moment we ran into the store, we closed the door behind us. All of a sudden, the sky went pitch black and gray. We realized that the first tower had gone down at that point in time. A rather spectacular scene. It looks like a nuclear winter down here and the entire area around City Hall. All the dust and debris. You might be able to see some of it in front of me. That dust and debris is coming from the World Trade Center. We are now about 10 blocks from it. You might be able to see behind us the smoke still coming from what was the World Trade Center. People have been leaving this area in droves. They have been running from the area. We saw a lot of people that were in the tower. They came out, they talked to us, they described what it felt like when the plane initially hit the first tower. They said there was a shaking, a rumbling, and then some people talked about the fact that they ran down the stairs. They said one of the exits didn't actually work, so they had to go to another one, and that's how they were finally able to get out of the building.
If you're just joining us this morning, you're looking at what once was the World Trade Center in what appears to be a coordinated attack, a horrific sequence of destruction this morning. Beginning at 8:45, a plane, a 737 hijacked plane, authorities tell us, crashed into the World Trade Center. 18 minutes later, a second plane crashed into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:35, 50 minutes after the first attack, a plane breached security and landed and crashed. There's the second plane going right into the World Trade Center. This happened at 9:03. Steve Bartlestein at Eyewitness News. If you were watching, you saw it live here on our air. At 9:35, a plane crashed into the Pentagon. That is still smoldering. At 10 a.m., the North Tower collapsed. At 10:15, the State Department reported a car bomb exploded outside in Washington. At 10:30, the second tower of the World Trade Center collapsed. What you're looking at now is just moments after 9:03, seconds after 9:03 a.m., the World Trade Center, both towers attacked. Those towers, ladies and gentlemen, exist no more. This is the first tower, the North Tower, imploding on itself.
At this point in time, we have no firm numbers in terms of casualties.
We've actually had a couple of people. We're having a hard time turning around our tape right now because our truck is full of dust. That's exactly how much dust we're talking about. Our deck is not working. However, I can tell you, we had a woman sitting in our live truck earlier who was literally covered in blood from her toes to her head. She was sitting in our truck filled with dust. She says she was actually on the 82nd. In fact, we just heard another explosion. We just heard another explosion a moment ago. So we're going to stay here as long as we can, but as soon as it becomes dangerous, of course, we will move. Let me tell you a little more about this woman. She was sitting in our truck covered in blood, said she was on the 82nd floor. As soon as they heard that first plane come in, they started running down. It was clear until the 70th floor, but then the problem was a jam inside the stairwell. They ran down below the promenade where all the shopping centers and all the shopping stores are, and then they were able to run. Still, police having a hard time evacuating the whole area. You can see there are many people around, but the streets are jammed now with emergency vehicles. This is a no-fly zone at this point. So if they see any jets that are unidentified, those jets are armed from the National Guard. That is what the FBI is telling us right now.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. It looks, and Jeff, you just heard Jeff report that there was sounds of another explosion. That looks like new smoke, not dust, rising from there.
That is definitely, certainly a deeper color smoke. In fact, you can see the differentiation between a dust, what appears to be a dust cloud, and this fresh smoke. We have not confirmed exactly what that might have been, but again, our Jeff Rawson live at Chambers Street is telling us that as he was on the air, he heard another explosion. As soon as we get some information, some clarity on what that is or